Welcome to Prophecy and Forensics, true stories with Rev Kymmi and Dr. G, a reality series that takes listeners on a journey through the intersection of faith and real-world challenges. Today's episode is the missing person case of Elijah Vue. And now, your hosts, Rev Kymmi and Dr. G.
Hi, Dr. G, and hi, everyone. It's Rev Kymmi.
Hi, this is Dr. G. Hi, Kymmi. Today we are going to talk about the very, very sad case of Elijah Vue over in Wisconsin. And for our first-time listeners, very briefly, I am a forensic victimologist, a professor of criminal justice, so it's appropriate for me to start this out with some information for you. According to the United States Bureau of Justice Statistics, 23% of children under the age of 13 who are murder victims are killed by family members. In fact, if you look at assault and domestic violence and date rape and stuff like that, it's generally someone we know. Murder is no exception. And kidnapping of children, too. This highlights a tragic reality that a significant portion of child homicides involve relatives. Like I said, this is a very sad case, and I did not know about it until you told me about it, Kymmi. How did you learn about this case?
You know what? I think I probably just saw it online.
Oh.
In the news.
Yeah.
And then I felt pulled to it. I felt compassion.
Okay. Now, I remember when we were in California, you used to get, what the heck was that? Nexel, some kind of alerts? Or
yeah,
something
that
like
was in LA County, but I've moved away from California, so.
What were those
I
called?
don't get that. Nexel. Nixle.
Okay.
It comes from, I think it came from Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, public notification, or it was LA County. I don't recall.
Yeah, and here we have amber alerts, silver alerts, and yeah, we watched a really, really good documentary the other day, folks. I wish I had written it down so we could share it with you, and it was all about amber alerts and how they got started. That was real education.
Yeah, it was really sad too.
Was that the one, the girl on the milk carton or something like that? I think it was.
Well, I think that they talked about, it was on Netflix or Hulu, with regards to the first cases on on the milk carton they shared. Okay. Then they shared about significant landmark cases in criminal justice or missing persons, and such as, like I said, the milk carton person who was the first child, as well as who started, what's the case that started the Megan law.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and
Amber Alert and stuff like that.
I remember in the program they were talking about that once they got it in place, they put an Amber Alert out and they had the guy like within a half an hour or something. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah, but unfortunately that was after the Amber's case, because her case wasn't successful, right?
I haven't seen it in a while, but years ago when I was in the Army and I was driving back and forth between Texas and Minnesota and Utah, where I'd go for language refresher training, I used to see semis, and on the back door would be a picture of a missing child. I can't remember what carrier company that was that did that. Bunch of major ones out there, but that they always did that. They put the picture of the kid on the back, just like on the milk cartons. Anyway, we need to get into this case and what God revealed to you. Now, bring our listeners up to speed. Like I said, I'm a professor, and we'll explain what Kymmi's background is. The case of Elijah Vue is a tragic and heartbreaking one. Elijah Vue was a little 3-year-old boy from the small city of Twin Rivers, Wisconsin, a population of about 11,000, kind of like some of the cities I grew up in. And,
is it Two Rivers or Twin Rivers?
Two Rivers, yeah, Two Rivers. And, everybody watches out for everybody they know, and I mean, this is Wisconsin. It's not like the middle of New York City where they can watch something happen and not respond. And we're going to get into that. I mean, that's a really important point. Here's this little 3-year-old kid, about 3 foot tall, they said, weighed 50 pounds, a little tiny thing, walking around in very little clothes, supposedly with a blanket. And my goodness. He went missing around 8 a.m. on February 20th, 2024, in Two Rivers, which is on the shore of Lake Michigan. It's about 30 miles north of Sheboygan and about 30 miles south of Green Bay. A couple of pretty good-sized towns, midway point. Elijah's mother had left him in the care of her boyfriend, and Elijah was reported missing by the boyfriend then on February 20th, like I said, about 8 a.m. And that kicked off a months-long search. Finally, they searched. They really did. I think they did a pretty good job. Dogs, everything you could think of, volunteers. And then on September 7th, 2024, Elijah's remains were discovered by a deer hunter who was out preparing, his area for the fall hunt. They should be picking up here pretty soon. In Minnesota, I think they kick off around November 6th. And he's out there on private property in Two Rivers, north of town. And he stumbles across these skeletal remains. Now, we haven't found anything about whether they were buried or on the surface, but if he walked across them, they had to be on the surface. And it was by a quarry in the deep woods, north of town, out by Camp Manitou. That's about 3 miles from the boyfriend's home where Elijah was last seen. And this is where it really gets bizarre, because his blanket, where'd they find his blanket?
Like 4 miles away.
Yeah.
From where he was last seen, which was at the bio mother's boyfriend's apartment, which was 4 miles away, approximately, from where the blanket was discovered.
Yeah, they said where it was discovered. Now imagine, in your mind, of course, we're talking about a little kid, like Linus from a Peanuts cartoon, walking around with his blanket. It's 4 miles as the crow flies, people.
Kids can't even keep track of their own toys for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and there's only 2 ways to get there, unless you're going cross country through cornfields and bean fields, soybeans, and everything else. It's 7.5 miles one way and 7 miles the other by road to get there. And here's the trick. He's got to start out by going a good mile south of the home to cross the one bridge that gets him to the other side of the river.
So you're saying that between the apartment where he was last seen and to the place where the blanket was found, that in between there's a long river, and only one way to get to the alleged blanket scene is through one bridge, which was how many miles down from the apartment to cross it?
It's probably a good 3/4 of a mile, yeah.
Okay, and so how wide is that approximately bridge? Is it a car bridge with 2 lanes each way? It's wide, or are we talking it's a pedestrian bridge?
It's a road bridge.
Okay.
It's a road bridge.
So, but still, so then you're telling me that a 3-year-old knew that he needed to go all the way down at least 1 mile to be able to go over the bridge and go yet 4 miles from the apartment to where he allegedly dropped the blanket. And I supposed to believe that?
Yeah, without dropping his blankie. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm a mother of 2 daughters, and by no means can a child even carry it, not that far at all.
Yeah.
There's no way I believe that story.
So we're looking at street level here. I'm showing you here street level view on Google Maps. It's a 2-lane road. One east, one west.
And then you have a little sidewalk on each side.
Yep. That's it. So,
but don't forget, they found this blanket X amount of days after he went missing.
yeah.
And the whole town, and of course it's exaggerated a little, but there's a lot of people searching for him pretty much almost immediately. So therefore, you're trying to tell me yet again that this child, that's Dre, carrying a blanket and in a cute, colorful outfit, is cruising 4 miles without anyone ever seeing him. They checked surveillance videos, not found on any video, but yet he somehow made his way all the way 4 miles without being seen on surveillance video or witnesses. That some mother or father or good Samaritan would stop and say, "Oh, poor baby," and pull over and pick him up, as we all would do if we saw a 3-year-old cruising around alone.
Yeah, and that brings me back to my point before. The population is just over 11,000. I grew up in, an area where our whole county was only 12,000, and in the next county over, the county seat was about 12,000. I mean, if there's a kid walking down the street, walking down some county road, blacktop or gravel, any kid, even a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid walking down that road, people would probably slow down and say, "Hey, you need a ride or something," but a baby?
We'd scoop him up.
A little 3-year-old?
We don't see him with a mom or dad.
Dragging his blankie?
I'd call 911.
Oh, I'd stop right there, get out the cell phone.
I would do 911 for sure. And stay right there with him.
And like I said, and like you pointed out, it's 4 miles. That's as the crow flies. It's 7.1 to 7.5 miles on the road to get to where the blanket was. And then, folks, he's got to go north, straight north, and again, back across the river about another 4 miles to end up by that quarry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about that. I'm not real tall, but I got about a 30-inch inseam, and you add my stride out there, and I tell you what, I'd be hard-pressed to make it go out there and walk in the heat that he did. Of course, he went missing in February, but to go out there, that's winter. A little kid. Go out there, he wasn't wearing his winter coat and his snow boots either. You go out there in February with a little inseam that's probably about 12 inches.
Yeah, I forget about that being from California. You're right.
Little inseam at 12 inches. That's like an adult going out and walking 25 miles in the snow.
Okay, let's get to the point. This whole thing is staged.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call it as it is.
That little baby
You got zebra stripes. Guess what? You're a zebra.
Yeah.
And this is a staged. Okay? Yep. If anybody knows who I am in my work, which a lot of people do and they're aware of it, that I'm prophetic and the Lord shows me the truth. And the truth is, I reported this back. He wasn't even missing a month. I think it was 1 day short of a month.
Went missing February 20th.
The Lord showed me what happened to him, and I reported it to law enforcement.
What day did you reach out? March?
I have an email in front of me here, guys, that I'm reading. It's March 19th, 2024 at 7:40 p.m. And that was to the law enforcement, to the police chief, and possibly, I guess it's a tip line, tip email to Two Rivers Police Department.
Now,
police chief.
Is this like a movie that you're watching? God gives you visions or impressions, or how does this work?
I just, anyone who doesn't know.
What do you see? What do you?
Okay, you guys, I'm a litigation and trial paralegal. 30 years is how I earn my money. For celebrities and stuff like that. You can go and look on my LinkedIn. I'm found as Kymmi, Kymmi, Bloomberg, BLOOMBERG, if you're interested to see my bio. But for about, over 20 years, I have been doing ministry, and it's been I'm a Christian ordained reverend, and I have ministry gifts from the Holy Spirit, and I'm prophetic, and I do this quite a bit on cases, and whether the law enforcement reaches out to me and asks for my help, and I will help them, or in the alternative, it's something I saw in the news and I tip them on my own. Okay? So, and I've been doing this since 1997, and it's all in writing prior to the case transpiring. And active cops are witnesses. They are on the email. Okay? And sometimes they're with me in person to see this occur. Anyway, so I reported this case. The Lord showed me what happened to Elijah a long time ago in March 19th, 2024. I wrote law enforcement.
Okay. And is it a clear vision like I'm looking at?
Yes.
TV?
It's a knowing.
Okay.
It's a knowing of what happened. It's a knowing the truth.
Okay.
And
what
he
was
gives
revealed
me
to you?
the insight to the truth.
Was it like plowed fields or wheat fields or cornfields?
But what the Lord showed me was, let me read this. I'm going to be redacting and leaving out some information because until law enforcement does some further charges, I can't disclose some information from this email, okay? I told them that I knew absolutely nothing about this case prior to doing this prophetic analysis so that it would be pure information from God and not be influenced of what I read, in the news.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very sorry to be the one to tell you that Elijah Vue is not alive. I'm 100% certain of this, unfortunately. And the Lord was showing me that he was murdered and his remains were disposed of. And I'm reading it. I'm trying to redact it here. Read a little bit before actually saying it out loud. I saw that I'm going to tailor it because I don't want to be so direct as I was to law enforcement. But they disguised the people or person, I'm going to be vague here, who murdered him. Took him out, like, let's say in a trash bag or some way to disguise his body, of course, to not know what's really going on. And
yeah, that's typical. Wrap him up in a blanket
then
or a rug or something.
Yeah, and I have told them that the blanket is staged to look like he'd wandered and dropped the blanket there. And then I told him that the Lord was showing me that it looked like a place that was a landfill where his body was discarded. Oh. And that I saw that they had looked at landfills. So I said, he's outside of the immediate area. I felt like it was a landfill. From what I was seeing, the Lord was showing me a place that had tractors, and on, the way a landfill looks when they're working it with tractors and moving the dirt around and stuff like that.
Loaders, things like that.
Yeah, and that's what I saw. So it felt like a landfill, so that's what I had mentioned. But the thing is, the truth is, where he was found is exactly that. It's a
quarry. Yeah.
Is it a quarry?
Yeah.
Or gravel place?
Yeah, it looks
something
like a gravel quarry.
Okay.
Online.
So that's how, you see in part, know in part, says the Bible. And it's when you prophesy. So, and a lot of what I see, I have to interpret, just like in real life. If you saw someone going down the street, are you going to say right away that guy's running away from something when you don't know what you didn't witness? So it's like you have to kind of really get a feel of it. And I felt the feel was landfill because I'm from the city. Mm-hmm. I'm not from the country as I'm here now. And so I'm not familiar with this kind of environment. Yeah. In L.A., that would be a landfill only. Oh,
yeah. We have in Minnesota and Wisconsin, we got taconite, iron ore, mines up north, granite quarries up around St. Cloud, and you get down around southern Minnesota and over in Wisconsin, you got aggregates, rock and stuff like that, and sand.
So anyway,
yeah, a lot of quarries around.
So let's see if I could read anything of this. So I said that definitely that they went outside the immediate area. The individual who discarded Elijah's body went outside the immediate area. And I said I'm 100% positive of this. And that is exactly what did occur. It is outside of the immediate area where his body was located. So I don't want to disclose anything further than that because law enforcement has not made further charges or information that they have given to the public. So I just want to say that I believe that he was a stage there where his body was found, because no child's going to conveniently go. Let's go. The first leg is about 4 miles to the blanket. Mm-hmm. You got to go over the bridge. It's about 7 miles, right? When you go through the bridge to get across, it's 7 miles to the blanket.
Yeah, once you cross that bridge, there's like a northern route and a southern route, and it's 7.1 or 7.5 miles either
to
way.
Go over from the apartment, go over the bridge, and then go to the blanket where it was found is about 7 miles. Yeah. No child is going to carry their blanket 7 miles. So that's it's staged. So now let's go to, now he had to walk allegedly. The other stage is his body is found in a heavily wooded area next to this place that looks like a landfill. And so we're supposed to believe he went another 3 miles or so, in which I don't believe, and then conveniently found in heavily wooded where he cannot be seen.
Yeah.
So I don't believe anything. Nothing. Now, he need to have been found with his clothes on and his diaper.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't, there's another evidence of a staged event in foul play.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You bet. And I'm showing you this on the map here because one of the things I teach is crime mapping. And, of course, you've picked up on this. But the blanket is at about 4 miles from the apartment. And we know that most offenders, they like to work in that, like, they don't want to be too close to home because they want to be able to escape and get back, but they don't want to get too far away because then they can't get back. So a lot of their activity occurs between at least 2 miles from home and no more than 5. And look at this. Here's 2 miles, and the blanket was at about 4 miles. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then if we go up this way to where he was recovered, look at that.
It's 5, like I always talk about.
If we go out to 5...
Perfect.
There's 2. Then he's at about 3.75. So he's between the 2 and 5. So,
right, which I always talk about on cases with law enforcement.
Within a 5-mile radius.
The body is always found within 5 miles.
Pretty much, yep. So that fits when we come to profile.
Yeah, because psychologically they want to they stay where they feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it's an understanding that that's where the bio mom had lived prior, around that vicinity, is what's reported online.
Oh.
I don't know if it's true or not.
Up by the quarry?
No, where the body was found, yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if it's facts or not. And it's not speculation. This is something I read online.
Okay.
From neighbors across the street.
Maybe one of our listeners can find that and email us and let us know.
Well, it was neighbors across the street who testified to this fact.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people who live own the property across the street from where the body was found. They said that the bio mom used to live over there. I don't know if it's true.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else the Lord shared with you that we'd like to share with the listeners?
No, it's just another really bad case. This has been something on my heart for a long time. Always looking in the news. Did they find him yet? Did they find him yet? And I'm glad that, I've been praying that he would be found to have a proper burial. And I'm glad that, he is, he's able to have proper burial.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to be prosecuting anyone. I don't know if they're going to be doing further charges to the biomom or to the boyfriend. But as I recall, I read that they don't have enough evidence, so they're not charging further the boyfriend or the mother. And as far as I remember, for instance, the Kristen Smart case in San Luis Obispo, I worked that case. Paul Flores is in jail today for the person who murdered Kristen Smart when they didn't find her body. He was the last one to be with her. So I would imagine that they would be they can easily prosecute, let's say, the boyfriend or the mom or whatever the scenario is, easily by just alone that you're the last one to be seen with this individual. Mm-hmm. And the body has been found. It's more than the Kristen Smart case because they found his body. So I'm sure that investigators will be pressing further charges that we'll hear about. And if it worked on Kristen Smart's case, I'm sure that they have thought about the same. If the boyfriend or the mother is people that they think may have done this, I don't know.
Yeah, and haven't they been charged already?
I think just with chronic child neglect.
Yeah, I think
and that was months ago.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite interesting. He missing in February, and then in less than a month, you very accurately described the terrain where he's at. And then 6 months later, that is precisely where he's
found.
Recovered.
Yeah, and it's all staged.
Right.
It's so obvious. It's obvious.
Yeah.
It's just staged. Everything.
Oh. Well, folks, a couple days ago, Friday, September 27th, they put it up on Facebook, so you can call it a virtual vigil for Elijah between 6 and 10 p.m. Wisconsin time, Central Daylight Time. And people were asked to light a candle or turn on a blue light in remembrance, in honor of Elijah. And then they were asked to take a picture of it and post it on that Facebook for the event and give the location where they did it. So even though that day has passed, I'm sure no one would kick or complain if you did that now, wherever you're at, whatever foreign country, because we have so many listeners in, every continent except Antarctica. It's really good. But, if you're down there in Australia or over in India or whatever, please light a candle or put on a blue light, take a picture, and go to that website for Elijah, that Facebook page, and put it up there. And feel free, if you can't find it, to let us know, and we'll do it for you. So in wrapping this up, and like you said, where's his diaper? Where's his clothes? There's no mention of it. It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. And there are folks on death row with less evidence than this.
Yeah, Paul Flores is in jail for less evidence than
Crazy. This. So as we wrap up here, we just got one thing to say. You can email us if you have comments, questions, or you want to send us a picture of your candle or your blue light for Elijah. Email us at revkymmi.drg@gmail.com. And you can do that to schedule your own private prophetic session with Rev Kymmi. You can also become a supporter of our podcast. And if you look at the information for it,
we thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Thank you.